Hi, my name is Tyriece Simon, news writer for MainNews.com, and today I have a special interview. She's a former Invicta FC featherweight champion. She's a former UFC featherweight title challenger. She's a pretty damn good Call of Duty Warzone player at that, and she'll be moving into the announcer role for her first UFC event for ESPN International. Megan Anderson, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much. It's a hell of an intro.
I had to add the Warzone part. I literally just seen you yesterday play Warzone. I was like, you know what? You're pretty good. I can't do that.
I have some days it may be good, sometimes it may be shit. So it just depends. So yeah.
And we're literally, it's a special interview because we're literally about less than 24 hours from you covering UFC 298.
Yeah, it's I think the prelims would have just started like maybe an hour or so ago. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
almost 24 hours.
yeah. And you just told me before we started that you flew in here, flew to your destination about a couple of hours ago. So you're really moving a lot right now.
Yeah, it's just a short in and out. Like they didn't need me here for like weigh-ins and stuff because like we've already done interviews with Alex and Rob specifically beforehand. So we're just looking for some of the content and stuff post fights, either win or loss.
Right. Right. And before we start, I just want to say that I am very proud of you, and I've been this before this this big thing you're gonna do tomorrow. I've been looking at what you've been doing, starting with you going on Twitch and being a content creator and moving in that lane and building a fan base from there, and I've just been amazed at what you've been able to do outside of fighting and to now this blossoming career as a broadcaster. So all credit to you, and I'm very proud of you.
Thank you very much. No, it's definitely been interesting, the path that I've kind of had since my last fight, but I kind of take every day, every week, every month as it comes. And I think just having the ability to grow, adapt, and pivot into, whatever avenue kind of works for me and just following things that I'm passionate about. I think that's the most important thing.
For sure, and let's get right into it. We talk about UFC 298. Like I said, it will be your first coverage for the company in the announcer role. How are you feeling? About less than 24 hours to the event.
I'm really excited. The stuff that we're doing with ESPN International, so we predominantly deal with like Australia, New Zealand, that type of region. So our audience is tailored to that. So I'm only going to be doing stuff with our Australian fighters.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's a step in the right direction type thing, and hopefully one day I'm able to start working more into the domestic side of things, which is like big US type like markets. So that's kind of the goal, and obviously like the biggest goal is getting a shot at that analyst desk.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, speaking of 298 though specifically, is just I've been on the other side of the mic. Like I've been the one being interviewed after I just fought in front of a sold out crowd, and just being able to have this opportunity to tell their stories, I think
Right.
I'm able to bring such a unique perspective because I do understand exactly what they just went through, what they've been through, and all of the emotions that are kind of going through when you're in big fights like this.
Right, definitely, and obviously you have Alexander Volkanovski on the card. You have somebody like Robert Whitaker also on the card. So you as an Australian, you kind of can kind of see them traveling to Las Vegas and being able to be in this big spotlight like you have been in the past. But for you though, as of now in this broadcasting lane, do you get the same type of nerves before the fight, before you got to cover something?
Um, I don't really get nerves for me. Like I always get nerves for like our Australian fighters, like when I watch them fight, just
Mm-hmm.
because I do care about them because we are such a small demographic. in the grand scheme of things, in terms of like the UFC, there's not really many of us, and so I obviously want them to do well. And we have such incredible representations of the sport coming out of Australia and New Zealand right now, and I think I do invest a little more in them, partly because like I know how hard it is to get to that level, being so far away from what would be considered the MMA hub in like
Right.
the US. So I don't really get nervous for me, but like I just want them to do well. I feel like it was kind of similar to like when you would watch teammates fight. Like
Okay.
you see them day in, day out, how hard they work, and you want them to do well, but like you can't really do anything because it's just them in there. So it's like you're just sitting there waiting, nervous, like hoping that they get the win that that they've worked hard for. It's very similar.
Okay. No, the reason why I ask is because, like, again, for me as somebody that has went to school for journalism and broadcasting, I like even to this day, before I do an interview, I'm still get a little nervous because I just want to do the best job, So
Yeah.
that's why I bring that up.
I mean, I would say like it's definitely been a process learning on the job.
Right.
Um, not just like the interviewing side, but also like the analyst side.
Mm-hmm.
Not having any background or experience in broadcasting, so it has been a journey.
Right.
But I don't know. It's just I think having that mindset of like I have stepped inside of a cage and I've been locked in there with somebody else and we've punched each other in the face in front of
Right.
thousands of people. Like if I can handle that, I can
Right.
handle interviewing Alex, or I can handle interviewing Rob, or whoever it may be. I think like so my first really big interview that I did was a sit down interview with Israel Adesanya and the City Kickboxing team before he fought Alex Pereira in MSG. I think it was like November of 2022. That was
Right.
my first really big sit down interview. So I started off with all of this. So it was like Brad Riddell, Carlos Oberg, Izzy, Dan Hooker, and we also put in Eugene, their coach, as well. So I did
Right.
my first interview off the bat was a group interview, which I'd never done one before in my life. I was
Which
like,
is
oh my
difficult.
God. Yeah,
It's
which
very
is really
difficult.
difficult. And then I did individual interviews with all of them as well. So I had like 6 interviews
Mm-hmm.
back to back to back, starting with
Right.
that group one. So that was the first real like dive into long sit down interviews like that. I was really kind of nervous about, but the good thing is like I have such a camaraderie with a lot of these people, like these guys, because we fought on the same card and we know each other before, so I'm able to kind of just talk to them like a peer,
Right.
and just and instead of having these conversations that we normally would as friends, not in front of the camera, we're just doing it in front of a camera this time.
Right. Right. No, yeah, and that usually makes for the best interviews when you're able to have a conversation like you would have if you weren't on camera.
Oh, 100%.
Right. Right. And no, one of the things I was interested in is I've like I said I've been following you outside of fighting and what you've been doing, like I said, content creating and now being in broadcasting. But I don't think I ever really heard from your side exactly what made you go in this direction. So I may
Yeah.
ask, how'd you end up going in this direction and choosing broadcasting as this new career path?
So it's actually one of my producers, Ben Regal. So they initially got me on the show as a fighter. I think it was like November, December 2018, because it was like before my fight against Kat Zingano, and they brought me on the ESPN show. And since then, like he'd kind of like the producer reached out like every now and then, was just like kept in contact, would bring me back on the show, and then started transitioning into kind of like, hey, we think you could be a good analyst.
Right.
Let's try you out. And I remember having a conversation with somebody right before COVID hit,
Mm-hmm.
and they wanted to bring me, like, fly me out to studio like once a month. and do the rest of the shows from home. But then COVID happened, everything kind of like went haywire,
Right.
and then it wasn't until like I think it was like mid 2021,
Right.
where my boss called me and was just like, "Hey, we want to bring you on as an analyst full time for our show because we tape once a week."
Mm.
I was like, "Okay, cool." And like anything with ESPN, it is such a large organization that things move very slowly. So I think from when I had that conversation to when I signed a contract, it was like 3 months, I think. And like
Yeah.
during that time, I was like, is this even happening? I don't know. And then it was like September of 2021
Mm.
was when I signed and I was brought on the show, like, and started doing the show every week. So it was kind of something. And like, I'd always, like, I understand that the sport of MMA has a very short lifespan. It's a very short shelf life, and you can't do this sport forever. And so before I even finished or decided to step away from fighting, I
Mm.
was building my Twitch stream, trying to push being an
Right.
analyst or like doing breakdowns or whatever it was, because I wanted to start cultivating those skills. So when I did decide to step away, like I could then kind of pivot and transition into something else.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? It's crazy that you say that because and I bring this up and I bring up Twitch specifically because at the time when you started, I don't remember as many like active fighters or fighters even doing Twitch or even doing content creating. Like you were the first one of the first people I've seen actually really doing it.
Yeah. I know like Jessamine Duke and those type of girls like used to stream a lot
Yeah.
back in the day. I know like Max was really big. Dominic Reyes would stream sometimes. Jamal Hill was streaming back then. Um, but yeah, no, it definitely wasn't super common, I don't
Right.
think. It definitely has become a lot more mainstream over the last like year or so.
Yeah. Yeah, like you see a lot of either fighters or former fighters now getting into content creating and kind of doing what you're doing, kind of moving a different lane and cultivating a different audience to where, hey, when I'm done fighting, when I'm not fighting anymore, I have a whole new another business and career path where I could do things that I want to do.
Oh no, 100%. And I think that's really important. And I feel like if you want to generate like wealth or stuff like that and kind of work your portfolio, like you need different avenues of income stream. And like streaming is can be a very profitable way of doing that. And then there's content creation, then there's YouTube, then there's then there's fighting. Like it just slowly building your skills in all these different areas is going to be so important, because there is going to come a time when you don't want to fight anymore, when you don't like have the desire to fight anymore. And I feel like so many fighters fight way past when they should have probably given it up, just because they don't have
Yeah,
anything else. And if you and I feel like you get into such a dangerous area if you're fighting because you don't have anything else, but really deep down you don't want to fight. Like that becomes dangerous. I feel like so many fighters get damaged a lot. Like they get into fights and they get KO because like their heart isn't in it anymore.
yeah,
But they don't have anything else to transition to. So
right.
I feel like cultivating all those skills will enable people to like step away on their own terms and not have to rely on fighting anymore to get by. Like they do have these other skills, and I think that's really important.
No, yeah, for sure. And just speaking as somebody that has watched you progress, like I said, even starting just content creating as in Twitch, um, I could see how what you were doing there kind of prepared you for what you're doing now, to where you're able to speak comfortably in front of everybody. You're able to do analyst breakdowns on fights on your own YouTube channel.
It definitely helped like particularly starting off with streaming and doing like breakdowns and stuff like that, because it kind of helped me fine tune
Hmm.
my thoughts.
Right.
Because I feel like what a lot of fighters don't understand when they do try to transition over to the broadcast side is like we have all of this information in our head of
Right.
like real life experience, and we can visually break it down, and we have all of these things to say, but like you might get asked a question that is completely irrelevant
Hmm.
to something analytical. You're like, okay, how do I adjust? Like, how do I
Right.
respond to that? And then you already have like 45 seconds
Right.
to get all of what you have in your head in and make it sound good, and so that everybody can understand what you're saying. It's still
Right.
somewhat relevant to the question, but then you also get what you want across as well. So like it definitely has helped fine tune being able to streamline your thoughts so you're able to like condense them and make them sound great in like a TV type environment. Like I also like at ESPN, like I did some work with a coach
Hmm.
who has kind of helped me with that, and kind of because they don't tell you like there is a blueprint in how to answer questions. Like
Right.
they don't, and unless you've gone to broadcasting school, or you have a background in this, how are you supposed to know that? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so, just little things like this. And whenever I am in a position where I'm doing stuff with other fighters, and like I try to make it a point to like help them and give them that advice, because if I can help them, I mean, then everyone's going to be lifted. So that's kind of like the way that I view it, is like I'm not going to hold on to that information. If I can help you be better at it, and feel more confident and comfortable
Hmm.
being in front of the camera in an analyst type setting, then I'm gonna I'm gonna do whatever I can to help you.
No, yeah, and I will say I recently saw your breakdown for UFC 298, Alexander Volkanovski and Tapora, and I thought you did really good. I think the video was maybe less than maybe 10 minutes, and you broke down the fight very simply to where like if you didn't know each fighter, if you weren't following the careers, you can understand going into the fight. Okay, these are things I gotta look out for in the fight. I think yeah.
Yeah. I have an editor who edits all that for me. Max is like incredible. He does a phenomenal job. So I usually give him a video that's like around 13 to 15 minutes long, and he breaks it down to like 9-10 minutes. Like he just edits it in so it cuts out all like the extra like dead space type thing.
Yeah.
Um, but and that's the thing. Another thing, fine tuning. The way that I do those longer breakdowns is having a hook,
Hmm.
shortening the hook down, then having a bit of an intro. Like I like to bring in the stats, because like say if you're somebody who's watching the sport for the first time, like who are these people?
Right.
Why are we talking about them? So I like to put the stats in there, make that pretty quick, and then like I never used to I used to do like good things for both fighters, and then bad thing, well, like areas that they're kind of weaker in. But
Yeah.
I've kind of switched it into, here are 3 keys to victory for fighter A
Right.
and why, and then 3 keys to victory for fighter B and why, and why that they should be doing those things. So like, I mean, for example, one of the keys for Alex that I had was the leg kick.
Yeah.
Why is the leg kick important? Because Ilya has such a dominant boxing stance, and with boxing stances, they're very heavy on the lead leg, and so you can then just go down that kind of way, and so I feel like that just the more you do it,
Hmm.
I feel like I forgot where it's from, but I seen something from somebody, and it was actually like post that piece of content.
Yeah.
It might not do well at first. It might not do, it might not be the exact product that you want. But if you don't put yourself out there, like
Hmm.
you can't refine your craft, you can't refine your product, because like I put out my I put out one for the Sean Strickland Dricus Duplessis fight, and someone's like,
Yeah.
you don't get into like the main breakdown until like 2.5 minutes into the video. I was like, okay, we're gonna cut everything down. So this time it
Hmm.
only takes like 60 to 90 seconds. So it's like fine tuning things, like just post it and build from there and grow from there and refine your product.
That's awesome that you say that, because like I'm gonna go back and watch the Sean Strickland one and just see like just what you did there, because and even that one was good too. And I was amazed by how you were able to get to so many points in just such a short amount of time. And to your credit, also with the leg kicks, you brought up something as well where you went back and looked at Topuria's last fight, so where he didn't really check leg kicks. So that's something that, again, you're doing research. You're kind of looking at it as from a fighter's perspective, and you're able to like for a better term, dumb it down for people that are casual fans that don't know everything about it to be able to understand it. I think right now what you're doing as an analyst has been incredible. And I would say to the people that's watching this video, check out your YouTube channel, because you actually do a really good job. It's short videos as well. And again, stuff that I didn't even think about with Topuria not checking leg kick with Josh Emmett.
No, thank you. I do a lot of film study. Um, I do a lot of film study, and I feel like when you do it for so long, like it's hard to like it's hard for me to watch fights now as like purely just a fan. Like my brain's always going, because like I know like, oh, I'm probably gonna have to talk about this on our show on Monday, so
Right.
I'm always thinking about it from like an analyst point of view. And when you when you've been in there and you've done it and you've experienced it firsthand, like you understand styles and how styles make fights and what styles match up against others. So I try to like go in and I try to watch like the last 2 or 3 fights from each fighter,
Mm-hmm.
and because that's the most recent. That's the most recent information of what they're going to potentially look like. Like, and that's the thing is like every fighter is changing, they're developing, they're adding new tools to the belt, so to speak.
Right.
And so, you know, the Ilia Topuria that we see against Josh Emmett is probably going to be very different to the Ilia Topuria that we see against Alex Volkanovski, because Josh Emmett poses a much higher threat in terms of power, but
Right.
then Alex Volkanovski has a much different threat in terms of volume and movement and IQ and his ability to make reads, in-fight adjustments that not a lot of people have, that
Yes.
Ilya fought before. So it's like it's just understanding the big picture, that you can look at footage and you can say these are tendencies that fighter A has and tendencies that fighter B has, but are they going to do the same thing in this fight? There's a 50% chance yes, 50% chance no, because they might have gone away and adjusted that. So I think it's just you can give all the information, but then also at the end of the day is like it might happen, it might not. That's the beauty of MMA.
And I it's a great segue, because I would like to ask you now. This is a very interesting fight. You have Alexander Volkanovski, who was coming off of the loss to Islam Makhachev last year for the UFC lightweight title. You have Topuria, who is hot in fish grease right now and doing and is feeling all the way confident, believes he's going to win this Saturday. Where do you kind of see this fight playing out?
I see this one going the distance. I don't feel like it's going to be a stoppage. I think they're both so very well rounded and they're both very hard to put away. I don't really pay too much attention to that second Islam fight. And a big reason is because Alex took that fight on 11 days' notice.
Yeah.
11. He wasn't training. He was sitting. He came off the couch. He cut a crazy amount of weight, and like look at the preparation that he put in for the first Islam fight, and all like the months that he spent adding muscle, putting on size. Look at how close that first fight was.
Right.
There was bound to be something crazy happening when he didn't have that same prep time for the second one. So I don't consider that. And the crazy thing is like, a couple of months before, he put on a one-sided beatdown of Yair Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Like, people forget about that.
Yeah.
And my thing is like, Ilia Topuria, I think he is the real deal. I just don't know if it's his time yet. And wins over people, guys like Bryce Mitchell and Josh Emmett, whilst very impressive, I just don't feel like are at the same level or
Mm.
caliber as Alex Volkanovski. Like you can't tell me that Ilya Topuria has better striking than Max Holloway. He might have comparable striking. He doesn't
Right.
throw the volume. He definitely has more power, so there's different threats. But
Yes.
like Alex has been in there for 15 rounds with Max Holloway. 15 rounds
Yeah.
with Max Holloway. And like, so whilst I love the confidence that Ilya brings, it is very surprising to me how close people are on
Mm.
the line between
Yeah.
Alex and Ilya. And I feel like what he's saying is swaying a lot of that and recency bias of like Alex just getting knocked out. And the
Mm.
thing is, that it wasn't even that bad of a knockout.
No, but I will say this though. Uh, we talked about how he took a fight with Yair Rodriguez months prior to the fight, and he
Mm-hmm.
took the fight on 11 days' notice. Another thing that was kind of crucial to that was he's also going through stuff in his personal life as well, right? So
Yeah.
you do wonder with this fight being so close to the last bout that he had, where he came out and said that he wasn't in the right headspace. Where is he at right now? He seems happy. He seems like
Right.
he is feeling himself, but it does question like, okay, is this too soon for him?
So I did also have those same questions before I interviewed Alex,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, "Listen, people are gotta understand. Like, I just lost. I was in a bad place, and like." I then go back and I look at that from a competitive standpoint. I'm like, shit, I get it. Like,
Gotcha.
you just lost. You're upset. Like, you backed yourself. It didn't work out. And sometimes, like, you say things out of that may be true,
Mm-hmm.
but they seem so much bigger and worse because you are in a low,
Yeah.
because you're upset and you've just lost. So I think that was a big part of that. And after speaking with Alex, like, I feel much more confident in his mindset, because that was a big question for me too. Like, is this too soon? And the great thing about Alex is I know that like he has a phenomenal team around him that isn't going to let him do anything that they don't think he should. Like,
Mm.
they're not going to let him get back into sparring if he's not ready yet. Like, they're going like they have such a phenomenal system around him
Right.
with his trainers, his coaches, his training partners, his physicians, his strength and conditioning coach, his nutritionist, and they all work seamlessly together. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like his. I say this, and could all go to shit, but like I don't feel like it's coming back too soon
Right.
after talking to him and knowing how those guys train and how they approach training and training camps.
I will say also, like to your credit, to that thought process. Like, look at what happened with Izzy. Izzy he's not fighting. There's no sign of him fighting anytime soon, and it seems to be taking a step back and kind of enjoying life a little bit, relaxing, kind of getting back to where okay, when he's ready to fight, he's ready to fight. So I do like that aspect of if he wasn't ready, he would not be fighting.
Oh, 100%. And
Yeah,
like my thing with Israel is like when he was at the top for so long,
yeah,
like and not just at the top, he had been competing in just martial arts
mm-hmm.
for pretty much most of his teenage and adult life. You don't get a break. You train 6 days a week, multiple times a day, the constant weight cutting, the constant fighting. Eventually, there's going to come a point where you're just like, man, I'm fucking tired.
Right.
Like, why? And the thing is, though, and it was very prevalent for me too. So I can kind of understand. So from my point of view, is like what fueled me when I first started fighting
Mm-hmm.
changed over time, and like that didn't fuel me in the later years of my career. So I was like, you get to this point where like, what actually am I fighting for? Why am I fighting anymore? I don't really need to fight. I've changed mine and my family's life with generational wealth. Like, and that's kind of where Izzy is at, I think, as like he never really got to experience anything because he was always training. Like, this is his time to go, like, just chill, zero expectations, zero pressure to
Yeah,
train and fight and be a headliner for a pay-per-view. Like, he doesn't need to be doing that anymore. He's done his time. So now when he does come back, it's on his terms.
right, right. No, yeah, yeah. Like I said, I like that entire team and what they do and how they treat their fighters as well. Circling back to UFC 298 though, you know, we talk about that recency bias with Tapora. I think we're the I don't know if you feel this as well, but it's almost like there's something in the air right now, right? So we have a contender who is undefeated, who has looked impressive in the UFC, who is this confident. We sometimes we rarely see this workout where somebody that's this confident goes in there, gets the job done, and wins the title. But there are times where there are magic in the air, and I think that's why people are so excited about this fight because the level of confidence, the resume that Tapora has behind him, and with everything with Volkanovski, it does feel like there's some magic in the air. We've seen this with Conor McGregor, we've seen it with Sean O'Malley recently as well, where it's just the person that's challenging for the title just knows.
Yeah.
You're not convinced.
No, I'm not. I mean, I definitely feel like he is giving Conor McGregor-esque vibes.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't feel like Ilya has truly been tested at the top of the division yet, though.
Mm.
Um, so and Connor came up through a different different era generation, if you will, and it was different. Whereas, like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people are very intrigued about the confidence of this kid, but I just don't know, like, until he like puts a stamp on this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, and even if he goes out there and loses, I don't think it takes anything away from Ilya's stock. It's just he wasn't ready
No.
yet. And
Interesting.
I think with in I would have liked to see him fight somebody like a Max Holloway or
Mm-hmm.
an Arnold Allen,
Mm-hmm.
like one of those guys, before getting this shot. But I understand how it came about and the fact that, like, you can't keep giving these guys to Max Holloway and he keeps beating them. We have no no
Right.
contenders type thing.
Right.
And that's kind of what happened with Arnold Allen. Like, he was supposed to be the next guy, and they gave
Right.
him to Max Holloway, and that screwed their plans. So I don't think they kind of wanted to go down the same route.
Right.
But I
We said this
just
about
don't feel
Jose
like he's
Aldo
being
too.
tested.
We said this about Jose Aldo. We said this about with Conor, and we said, and again, I only bring up Conor because it is a little bit similar in the fact of you do question: is he coming up too soon? Is he doing it? Sean O'Malley, he went through the test. He beat Perion and everybody before he even got to Sterling. But with McGregor, you know, he beats people like Dennis Seaver. He beats Chad Mendes, and that fight was a little interesting because of how that fight went. Then he fights Jose Aldo,
Well,
who's
that fight was for the interim title fight too.
yeah, yeah, but it was before he fought Jose Aldo to be undisputed, and Jose Aldo at that time was regarded as one of the best fighters in the world.
Oh yeah, but the thing is, there was like Conor fought guys who fought for the title. Ilya, like in Chad Mendes, Ilya hasn't.
That's fair.
Much respect to Josh Emmett, Yair Rodriguez, but I believe that there was absolutely no fucking reason they should have made an interim featherweight title fight on the same night that the current champion is fighting for the lightweight belt, knowing that he was going to come back and defend. Like, there was no point. There was no point. So, like, I would have liked to see Ilya against, like, a Brian Ortega, a Max Holloway, Korean Zombie, like any of those guys that had fought for the title.
Right.
Then be like, okay, he's ready. But we never got to see that.
We'll see. We'll see. We have, like I said, we have less than 24 hours to see exactly how this plays out. I
Exactly.
think it's gonna be a fun fight. I think it's gonna be a fun fight and something that
Yeah.
I think will test both. I think for Volkanovski is going to see, okay, at this stage in his career, can he still fight at a high level? I believe he can. And for Tapora, it's also to show that he is of that caliber. He's on that level to be a title contender, potentially a title winner on Saturday. But I have a question for you. Also, for you, what other fights are you excited about on the card?
Obviously, Rob Whittaker, Paulo Costa.
That's a fun one.
Junior Taffa stepping in on a day's notice
Yeah,
for his brother Justin. That's a crazy fight. Also, Merab Dvalishvili and Henry Cejudo. I
yeah,
totally forgot that fight was on this card until I looked like a couple of weeks ago. I was like, damn, that's a really good fucking fight.
yeah.
And I mean, high stakes. Cejudo's like probably going to retire if he loses
You said it.
this weekend. So that's like whew, big stakes. And then I mean, obviously Ian Gary and Jeff Neal. That's a great fight. Uh
It's
I
a stack
mean,
card.
it really is. It really is a stacked card. And I mean, and it's great. I feel like it's kind of what the UFC fans have needed because I don't feel like the last couple weeks have really like delivered in
Mm-hmm.
terms of like it hasn't really packed a punch some of the fight night cards. So
Right.
I feel like this is definitely kind of what the MMA fans need is like this really stacked, like high caliber. It's going to be high stakes, big fight type feel.
And I also bring up another one here. Amanda Lemos versus Mackenzie Dern.
Mm-hmm.
Like
And then
that's an
Mackenzie
interesting one
taking
as
it on
well.
short notice too,
Yeah,
like what a couple weeks.
yeah,
It's gonna be good fight. Which I mean, that's gonna be a tough fight for Mackenzie because
yeah.
as we've seen in her last fight, she does not know how to close the range and get to the ground. And Amanda Lemos packs a fucking punch.
Yes, yes. And I'm very interested to see how that fight goes. It's a tough one for Mackenzie Dern, but if she's able to pull it off, she's right back in the hunt in the strawweight division.
Exactly. It's I don't feel like even if she loses, she'll be that far away. Partly because she is taking it on short notice.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also like big risk, big reward type thing. Um, I think for Mackenzie, like the thing that she should be focusing on right now is like how to bridge how to bridge her game to get where it's going to have more success. Like obviously, whenever the fight goes to the ground, that is her world. That's where she needs to take all of her fights because she's so good. She's so
Right.
much better than everybody else on the ground. It's just getting her there, I think, has been the issue for her. So like I want to see even if she doesn't win this fight, I want to see improvements in her game, in her wrestling, and how she tries to get the fight to the ground, like actively trying to get it there instead of just blitzing in, kind of not really chaining her wrestling together and kind of like letting her opponent establish the range and strike with her where she knows like she needs to take it to the ground.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be interesting to see. I mean, depending on how if I think that this fight maybe a little bit more balanced than her last fight. I think with Amanda Lemos, we still don't know exactly how good she really is in the strawweight division. Mackenzie Dern, like I said, if it goes to the ground, it could change some things, and I think she has
I
she
just
has the height and reach advantage as well.
The thing is though is like I just don't see her taking it to the ground. Like Amanda Lemos is strong. She's
Yeah,
strong and she has a ton of power and she's a good striker. And that's kind of Mackenzie's kryptonite is good strikers who can keep range and can defend takedowns.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm trying to play devil's advocate. I'm trying to
I
play
know,
devil's
I
advocate.
know, I know. I love Mackenzie. I love Mackenzie, and
Right.
she is incredible. And I want her to do well. But man, like you know, like my thing is like, listen, you know that you need to take it to the ground, yet somehow in throughout the like her entire transition into mixed martial arts, you still like somehow struggle to close the range safely and wrestle.
Right.
Like something needs to change. Like if you haven't figured that out by now, why? Like what is going on?
Yeah, and that last fight was a little rough. I'm not gonna hold you. It was a little rough. It was a little rough.
Oh my god, is this fight still going on? Please make it stop.
You know what? Like I said, if for anybody that is looking for this type of analysis and breakdown, you do you own YouTube channel where you break this stuff down as well. And like I said, you just kept it real this whole entire time. You didn't you kept it real with Tapora. You kept it real with Mackenzie Dern, and you said how you felt and what you really look at how these fights.
Yeah, I try to do it in like a respectful way because like at the end of the day I have a ton of respect for every
Right,
single one of these fighters. I know exactly what they're going through, but it is also my job to like if somebody is not doing something good,
right,
I have to call it out. Like it does them a disservice, it does the fans listening a disservice, and like it's not my job to be nice as an analyst. Like I can talk with respect because I do respect every single one of these athletes, but if you're going to do something good, I'm going to talk about you doing something good. But if you're doing something bad,
right.
it's my job to call that out. Like I'm not going to shy away from that because then it makes my integrity as an analyst look bad. So I'm like, oh well, she's just going to be nice to everybody. Like she doesn't call out, so and so doing this wrong, or so and so doing that wrong, or like Drew Dober, big fan of mine, fought Hanato Makano, what 2 weeks ago.
Right, yeah.
In the third round, it was I had a one-on-one going to the third round. Why is he trying to initiate like a standing trip? Like you
Yep.
just cost yourself that fight.
Yep.
Why would you do that? That make you have to know that it was one-on-one going into that third round, and from a stupid mistake. Like, why are you trying to trip and take this fight to the ground when you know that you're beating him striking? Like, why would you let him
Yeah.
take what? Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna call that out
Yeah.
because I'm like, bro, what are you doing?
He had him hurt too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, why would you let this fight go to the area where he's just been smothering you and holding you for the majority, like pretty much the whole first round,
Mm.
parts of the second round, and he was tiring, and you were doing well on the feet. It just cost you that fight. Like it's my job to call that stuff out. And I'm not going to shy away from that. And it might be controversial, but I always do it in like I always have a tremendous amount of respect for these athletes, but we
So,
can't just always be nice.
right.
Like
No,
it's
yeah.
not, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and like I said, you're doing respectful. You didn't call anybody out their names or anything like that. And it's the thought process is that people can look at what you said or look at what other analysts say and then incorporate that into their next fight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's the thing is like I know a lot of these guys are gonna like go back and they're gonna look at the fight and they're gonna say the exact same thing to themselves, like, why the fuck did I do that? Because I've done that
Right.
I hate watching my fights because I just nitpick the fuck out of it. Because I'm like, I
Yeah.
should have done that, should have done that, should have done that. So I know that these guys are gonna be doing that. Already, and I know that the next time, Drew, for example, steps in, he's not gonna make the same mistake twice.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the difference. Is like I'm just saying what these fighters are probably already saying, like in their own circle.
So like I said, we'll definitely see how this Saturday plays out UFC 298, which you'll be covering as a UFC announcer. Obviously you're moving into the broadcasting lane. Hopefully other fighters follow in that same footsteps. We see more of that on major MMA organizations. Just looking into the future now, what do you see women representation in MMA and broadcasting?
I mean, I would love there to be more.
Right.
I definitely feel like there needs to be more women in the space, and it's such a growing sport that on the broadcast side we need to grow as well. And I feel like we have such incredible women representing. both fighting and on the broadcast side. And I think we definitely need more women who have, fought in the promotion, like in the UFC. Because, like, I mean, a lot of the guys are all either current or former UFC fighters. So we need to start getting some of us women, doing the same as well. Like, start getting us into the rotation. And I think it's going to be super important, and it brings a different demographic.
Yeah.
Women love, like, there's a lot of women that love MMA,
Right.
and when you see a former fighter or a current fighter like sitting on that analyst desk, you're like, man, I love that, like, because it shows them, okay, like, this isn't just a male dominated sport like everybody says it is. Like, it's inclusive, it's representing everyone, and I think us women provide such a unique perspective on the sport, and we can be just as technical, just as analytical as the guys. We just need a shot.
That's right. And I want to say this as well, is like for somebody like you as well, the people that are going to look up to you now, right? Because now you're moving in this lane as a former fighter and broadcasting. Now there's going to be children or teenagers or people that trying to get into the field that are looking at what you're doing and be inspired by what you're doing and how you're moving. And potentially, it may not be 2 years from now or 3 years from now or however long, but soon enough, we're going to be seeing more women in this space doing things like this, being on the call for UFC events, more Invicta events, PFL events, Bellator, if that's still a thing in the near future. I think that's a beautiful thing.
No, definitely. And I always feel really weird about, like, young, like, young women, or just young people in general kind of looking up to me, just because, like, I just consider myself like a regular everyday person like everybody else. Like, I have a mortgage, I have dogs, like, I have my issues like everybody else, like, so it's always weird for me to think about, like, I was at the Kansas City airport today, and before my flight, and I had this little girl come up to me. She's like, "Can I take a picture?" And I was like,
Right.
"Sure, okay." And, like, it's that stuff still weirds me out, like, all of these years later. But I just I hope that throughout whatever I do, like, my past, my present, my future, like, whatever it is that I choose to do, that I can inspire people to be like, you don't have to always stick at one thing.
Right.
You can adjust, you can grow. Like, if you go, it's the analogy I like to give is like, you're walking down a lane, there's a roadblock.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, oh, I see a trail going up here. Okay, let's go down this trail, let's see what happens there. And I might branch off into something else, and then that ends up having a roadblock, but there's a trail off somewhere else. Like, that's kind of like the analogy I like to use. It's like, life isn't linear.
Mm.
Life isn't just one road. There's detours, there's roadblocks, there's U-turns. Like, life is so broad and random. But if one thing I can kind of show and inspire the younger generation is, like, you don't have to always have everything figured out straight away. You don't have to finish high school and think, this is going to be my career for the rest of my life. It doesn't have to be like that. I have changed so many different careers. Like, I went out of high school into the military. I was in the Australian Army.
Mm.
Went out of that, I was in doing an office job. I then went to university again for IT. So I was doing web design, app development. Like, I was writing codes for these things, but then I switched to MMA.
Right.
And then now I've switched to, content creation, broadcasting, hosting. Like, you don't have to be pigeonholed into one thing if you don't want to. Like, that's kind of like my thing for the younger generation.
No, it's good. I'm glad you are speaking on that, because, like I said, I do believe what you are doing and what other females in this space are doing as well is going to inspire other people that may not get into, let's say they want to be an active fighter for an organization, but they want to do what you're doing, and they look up to you and see, oh, if she can do that, I also want to do that too. And that's a powerful thing.
Oh, for sure. And, like, look at a lot of the other sports, like NBA, NFL, particularly here in the States, is like, there's a lot of incredible female analysts that have
Right.
never stepped foot on a pitch.
Right.
One that comes to mind is Mina Kimes. Like she is, I follow her on Twitter and stuff like that. She is, oh my god, incredible. If you want to learn the sport of football and know the ins and outs, the stats, she's incredible.
Right.
She has such an incredible mind, and she doesn't have to, like, she is confident that she knows her shit, and she doesn't have to step foot and play and gear up. But then there's also other people that like your Ryan Clarks, your Dan Orlovskis, who
Yeah.
have fought, or your Shannon Sharps, who have played, and
Right.
so then they provide a unique perspective as well as somebody who has laced up and gone through the motions and played at the highest level. And so that's why it's so important with MMA. Like, we need more representation. We
Right.
need like all different types of content. We need all different types of faces, looks. Like, I think it's so important to grow the sport because there is room for everyone at the table.
Right. No, no, yeah, you're right, and I'm I'm hoping to see people be inspired, ex fighters as well, be inspired by you, even active fighters, be inspired by what you're doing and how you've been able to succeed in every single lane that you've been in.
I try. I can't not fail. So, and even if I did, like, I don't even consider it like winning or failing. It's like lessons or growth. Like, it's, if something doesn't work out, okay. I mean, what am I gonna do? Like,
Right.
can't change it. It's going to force you to adapt and change. Like, what? Okay, one of the phrases that they would tell you through basic camp is like improvise, adapt, and overcome. Is one of the, like, also like prior preparation prevents piss poor performance. They were like the two
That's a lot of
phrases that they always gave you. Yeah, it's like the five things. Prior preparation prevents piss poor performance. So that's what is talking about, like, preparation is super key, but like improvise, adapt, and overcome is like, it's so important just to everyone in everyday life, no matter what you're doing. Like, you need to have the ability to improvise, adapt, and then overcome, because life throws so much fucking shit at you. Like, like it's and having that mindset helps you be like, okay, like, no matter what life throws at me, I
right.
have the ability to improvise, adapt to what's being thrown at me, and overcome it, so I
Right.
can continue to grow and continue to evolve and just become who you're meant to be.
That's a fact, and like I said, I'm going to be following you, continue following you on this journey that you're on. Like I said, you have a big day tomorrow.
Yeah,
And I'm looking to
excited.
see exactly how you progress. And especially for me, as someone that's been to journalism school and has got a degree and stuff like that, I am also inspired to see what you're doing and how whatever you throwing at you, whatever is whatever opportunity you comes your way, you knock it out the park and you make the best of it. And that's something that if somebody that's a fighter, not a fighter, somebody that's just in their everyday life that could be inspired by.
No, thank you. I try.
Before I go, before I let you go, I do want to ask you a question. Something I'm
Okay.
curious about. In Warzone,
Oh god.
and
Yes.
just say it's average, it's like one game. What has been your most kills?
I mean, I would say, like, back on Warzone 1, it was like
Uh,
18, 19, I think, in like Verdansk.
yeah,
I didn't really play, like, Caldera was probably around the same. Um, I didn't really play Warzone 2 because I hated the mechanics. I thought it was fucking shit. So, like, I
that's
pretty
fair.
much didn't
That's
play
fair.
Warzone for like all of last year
That's
because
fair.
I hated the mechanics. But this, like, I've gotten back to it like over Christmas and this year. So I think like big map is like 11, 12, I think, and then resurgence is like 10. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I also didn't play for like 8 months. So yeah.
Little rusty, little rusty.
Yeah.
No, I seen you, like I said, I seen you play the other day, and I was like, you know what? You're actually way better than me. I can barely get at least 5 or 6 and give a game through. So
It sometimes you're in a blender, and like, oh my god, like my really good friend Lynn, who I play with, they're always like, after every game that we're in a blender, we're just like, I'm way better than my last game. I'm way better than my last game. I always tell stream, I'm like, listen, if you come to the stream for like top tier, like S tier gameplay, this is
Right.
not the stream for
This is
you.
not. It's
If
not for
you're
you.
here for the vibes, this is the stream for you.
And you do bring the vibes. I will say you do bring the vibes.
For sure.
Yep. Again, like I said, by just standards, you're way better than me, so I can't really say anything. I'm like, oh, she's doing great. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Like I said, this is less than 24 hours before you have to cover UFC 298. I understand you have a lot going on, so I definitely appreciate your time.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Where can people find you if they want to follow you on social media?
Yeah, it's Megan Anderson across everywhere: TikTok, Instagram, X. I always forget either Twitter, X, either
I think we
or.
just call it Twitter at this point.
Right, I know.
Yeah.
And then the Megan Anderson Show on YouTube, and
Right.
Megan Anderson on Twitch. But yeah, essentially Megan Anderson everywhere, and then the Megan Anderson Show on YouTube. So yeah.
If you want to see some great analyst work, go to Megan Anderson Show. You want to see some great Call of Duty action, you go to Twitch. I want to thank you for your time. I appreciate you. Signing off. My name is Tyriece Simon, here with Megan Anderson. I'll see you later, guys.